here.
Tell us when.
You guys are ready?
Okay. Good morning and welcome to New Rhythm Arts Show here at WGHC 98.3 FM. Our program highlights the arts and the people involved in them. This is Alicia Hempfling and I'm here this morning with our guest, Karl Meyer, musician and songwriter. First, let me say a few words about our organization, the New Rhythm Arts Center. New Rhythm Arts Center is a nonprofit cultural arts organization that is dedicated to cultivating music and the arts in a way that can be accessible to everyone. You can take music lessons or dance classes, attend performances, and other events at a cost you can afford. For artists, we can be a resource to you. Our center is available for your concerts and rehearsals or to hold workshops and presentations. So for more information, email us at info@newrhythmarts.org. That's info@NEWRHYTHMARTS.org. Or you can call us and leave a message at 773-595-9900. Again, 773-595-9900. All right, here we are with Karl. Good morning, Karl.
Good morning. Glad to be here.
I'm so happy you had a chance to accept our offer to be interviewed. So I listened to some of your music, and it's a lot of fun stuff that you've got there.
I appreciate it.
Yeah, absolutely. And we'll hear some of that a little bit later on. But why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself, your background, how you came to play the kind of music that you play?
Sure. Well, I grew up in Cincinnati, Ohio, and my mother was very involved in the arts community in Cincinnati. And as a kid, she took me to a lot of art openings in places not all that different from this place, places where there were musicians and artists and just people hanging out. And so I got turned on to kind of the idea of starting your own band. Even at ages like 10 and 11 years old, I was going to watch, the local bands in the town that were just kind of making their own music. And so I, really very soon just wanted to play the guitar and start my own band. And so that's what I did. So the first band I was in that really did anything was a band called Sluggo. We recorded our first record in 1983, and from that point onward, I've just been playing in bands, playing music off and on. Starting with playing punk music, because that was the music that really resonated to me, like from that era. Just because it was just so direct, and it was. I just like the simplicity of it. It's very straightforward. The songs are very short. You just get right into the point right away. There's no messing around, So, but I liked other forms of music as well. And when I moved up to Chicago in the 90s, I started getting interested in the blues scene here. Chicago, of course, has a very rich history with the blues, and I decided to try my hand as being a bass player, just playing with blues bands around town, and had a lot of success with it. So for roughly 20 years, from the sort of mid 90s on, really up until the pandemic, just been playing with blues bands. Played at the Chicago Blues Festival 7 or 8 times, recorded with a bunch of artists. Mostly just played in bars and clubs and restaurants and stuff all over the city, just as a sideman, and really got a lot out of that. But then after a while, I kind of, missed writing songs and being in my own band and making my own music rather than just standing there playing Muddy Waters covers and Howlin' Wolf covers and so on. So a few years ago, I latched up with some folks around my age who had the same interest in punk, and I got back into it, sort of a second wave, if you will. And that got me writing songs again.
Like a new wave?
Yeah, a new wave, a second new wave. that got me writing songs again, and I found that, as an adult, at this point, approaching 50, felt like I had a lot to say and was a lot better at saying it, just, again, kind of more getting to the point, and just writing about being an adult in this crazy time period that we're in. So my first album, so I released an album on my own called Career Ending Move, which is really just about like being out in the working world and kind of all the mind games you have to play to trick yourself into getting to work every day and keeping sane. And just about being an adult, really. And so I kind of, tried to start this notion of punk for adults. I'm not saying no one else ever did anything like that, but that's kind of what I pursued, was this idea of, I'm doing punk for adults. And then, of course, last year the pandemic came along, and to me that just, it turned everybody's lives upside down so much. In my family, we weren't so greatly impacted by it in terms of any hardship or anything like that, but at the same time, all of a sudden now we're all at home rather than working and going to school outside of the house. And so I just decided to start writing songs about that. So last year I released a 4-song EP called No Mask, No Music, which was 4 more kind of punk songs exploring themes of the pandemic. But then I also decided to kind of try my hand at trying a blues song. So I wrote a song that inspired by my wife called We Miss the Library, which was literally, she just woke up at 3 in the morning one time and just said, I really miss the library, because she does go to the library a lot. And so, it was kind of, I just thought, well, that's just perfect. I had to write a song like that. I mean, who else has ever written a blues song about missing the library during the pandemic? I knew I had something unique to say, good or bad, it's definitely different, right? So I did that, and then I tried, one of the songs I did a folk arrangement of, that's a song called Safe Distance. And then I also, with all of the kind of other events that were going on in the middle of last year, especially with the murder of George Floyd, and so much of the anger that was stirred up in this country, also wrote a song called More Bad News, which a friend of mine, Rockin' Johnny Bergen, just goes by Johnny Bergen now, but a lot of people still know him as Rockin' Johnny. He's a local blues artist here. Him and I paired up on that together to really just kind of reflect kind of like this feeling of, can you believe this? We're still experiencing so much racism in this country. Just that feeling of, wow. What are we really going through this? And so that was another song I wrote.
The songs that you have been writing, when I listen to them, they're very fun, the ones that you had sent to me. But there's also a little bit of, what's going on in the world right now, and I get the feeling that you're opening people's eyes by writing your songs and the lyrics that go with them. What do you think prompted you to do all of this even prior to the pandemic?
Yeah, I don't know exactly if it's about opening people's eyes. I mean, I don't have a problem with that idea. I think it's more just kind of reflecting the moods I'm seeing in other people. Just like I say, that whether it's the state of shock that we were kind of in the middle of last year, or that feeling of like, wow, what about this pandemic? Isn't this crazy? Or even going back to kind of the pre-pandemic stuff I was writing about, just having to deal with bosses in the workplace that are unsavory, shall we say. There's just so many things that we experience out there in the adult world that that so much music doesn't really address. Like so much of the music that's out there are their love songs. Nothing wrong with that, or dance songs, or just let's go party. And I don't have any problems with any of that, but I just felt at this point, I can actually say some things that people go like, wow, I've felt that way before. I've connected with that feeling. And so to me, that's really what it's all about, is just kind of listening to people and reflecting what they what they're feeling.
Mm-hmm.
One thing I on that is I have a friend, her name is Sabrina, and I was giving her a ride home one night from a gig. We're in a van together, and she just started telling me about the experiences that she was going through at work, you know. And so I wrote a song called "Still Angry" after all these years, you know, just kind of reflecting what she had told me about what she had gone through.
Mm-hmm.
You know, so you know. I sure I couldn't have done that as a teenager. In other words, put myself in a woman's shoes and try to sing from her perspective.
Sure.
But I can do that now, you know. So
Right.
like that's
Right.
what I was trying to do. Is like, wow, I can capture that feeling and kind of spin it back. And she ended up singing that song on the record. So you know, so it's really just more about kind of trying to capture who we are right now
And connecting,
reflect it
trying to
back.
connect
Yeah.
to other people. So, you said you started a band. You started the band Sluggo, is that right?
Yeah,
Back
well,
in the day,
some
yeah.
friends of mine, yeah, where we went to high school together.
And you actually had a lot of success with that band. Let's see, from 1983 to 1986.
Yeah, the band's, I believe the band broke up in '85. We made something of a splash in our hometown of Cincinnati, and we got a little bit of press in kind of the fanzine circuit. Obviously, well before the internet, you know, we all traded information by fanzines and that type of thing. So we made a little bit of a dent. And actually, now that we're on Sluggo, another part of the reason why I've been able to do so much of this is that the pandemic has just provided me with more free time, you know. So another thing I've done is I'm restoring some of the Sluggo recordings from the '80s. I had still had the master tapes of our first two records, and I've had those digitally transferred, and I'm getting them released this year. So,
Wonderful, yes.
Just another side effect of all this is that I've had the time to get a little bit better at doing sound mixing on my own.
Oh, great.
You know, so I a couple years ago I was kind of afraid to touch it. I would just pay someone else to do all the mixing and mastering. But you know, with the pandemic, I was at home and with this software, and I was like, okay, well, figure this out. You know, learn how to do it. So that gave me the confidence this year to now take these recordings from the '80s, get them transferred over to digital, and remix them on my own. So it's just another project that I took on.
Yeah, the '80s also has a little place in my heart as well, and I do remember going to the clubs and listening to the punk bands. I think you probably grew up in you know, a great time in music history so far, and when I listen to your songs, you can definitely hear that background of the punkiness, the blues, the jazz. In fact, maybe we can listen to one of your tunes right now. This one is a little bit bluesy and jazzy to me. The "We Miss the Library." As you said, your wife had did she actually wake up in the middle of the night and said,
She did.
really miss the library?
Well, the libraries were closed, and my wife goes to the library virtually
Right.
every day.
Right, as does my husband, really. Okay, so why don't we go ahead and play "We Miss the Library." Fun song. Yeah, we have it coming up? All right.
It was all groovy. Oh. Now back in the before times, it was all groovy. My baby said the book's better than the movie. So we'd go to the library and peruse the stacks, check out some books and then go for a snack. Nowadays, we gotta keep our distance. The library is not there for our assistance. Online resources are certainly okay, but we miss visiting the library
every day. She used to check out more books than I could carry. My baby and I sure miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. Librarians really are an exceptional breed. They take care of our every need. They procure the readings for my baby's book club, and they'll tell you to be quiet if you're making a hubbub. Yeah, the library really is our favorite place to haunt. Where else can I get my Hegel and Kant? You know, our kids practically grew up there in that children's room, and you can't replace that with Zoom. She used to check out more books than I could carry. My baby and I sure miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. We miss the library, and that's a fact. We just can't wait till we can go back. We miss the library, and that ain't fiction. Got to satisfy my literary addiction. We miss the library, it's our favorite place. Picking out books just can't be replaced. We miss the library, that's good information. Everything you quote needs a citation. We used to check out more books than I could carry. My baby and I sure miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. Well, we miss the library. Yeah, we miss the library. Well, we miss the library. I miss the library.
Hey man, I heard the library's starting pickup service in June.
Oh yeah, that's not a moment too soon. I think that will be really peachy. In fact, I'm probably going to stop by and pick up some Nietzsche.
All right, that was a lot of fun. And in fact, the 4 songs that we're going to listen today have to do with the pandemic, and which I think is timely, of course. But we do have a lot of time on our hands. And speaking of that, what have you been doing? Writing songs? Has your band been able to do anything?
So I'm actually in 2 bands right now. The one band is completely on hiatus.
Okay.
We're called LC50, and just the members of that group just don't really feel comfortable getting together
Mhm.
during this time period. Right before the pandemic started, I kind of on a whim answered an ad for a band, a punk band that was looking for a guitar player. I'm usually a bass player. But I've been working more on my guitar playing, and I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give this a try, and pass the audition, as it were. And so that group,
As a guitarist or as a bass player?
I joined as a guitar player in that group. We're called the Creepers. We haven't played any gigs yet because of the pandemic, so we just we've been rehearsing kind of off and on. We had to take a break for a while because things were really locked down, but once we were able to get back into a practice place, we doing some socially distanced rehearsals. Really not a lot to announce with that group, and we're writing our own songs. We're going to go into the studio at some point and record something, but we've never done a gig. Kind of nobody knows who we are yet because we just haven't publicized ourselves. But we've written, I want to say, whatever, around 15 songs or something like that, and we're working up. Everybody in the band writes. It's four guys. So that's been a lot of fun, and like I said, I've sort of reconnected with guitar playing. Kind of another thing with the pandemic was branching out a little bit and feeling more confident to be able to do this. So that's going on really well.
It's been really tough for musicians and performers in general these days. Now, though, I think we're getting to a point where musicians and performers are trying to find alternative ways of performing. Like we have, live streaming. We have things that we can do online. Have you thought about perhaps doing that sort of thing?
I did one live stream last summer. I off and on I've been the bass player for a local blues artist named Tail Dragger, and he was supposed to play a festival last summer in Arkansas, and they ended up live streaming the festival. So we live streamed from his backyard on the west side. He lives in the Austin area, and so but that was just that really wasn't my thing. I was just the kind of hired gun bass player there. Aside from that, I'm really not a solo performer. I'm not. I don't really sound all that great with just me singing, playing guitar. I kind of need a band or something like that. So I haven't done any live streaming. Plus, there's just so much of it. I mean, my Facebook feed is filled with every musician I know doing their own live stream, and I look at it and go, who has time to watch all these? So I've just kind of focused on recording, because that way I can put all the instruments together. Like we just listened to We Miss the Library. I played everything,
I was wondering about that, whether your band was playing or
no.
it wasn't, it was all you.
Well, for that one, the drums are just a drum machine, and then I put down the bass and the guitar and the organ and everything myself, just one thing at a time. Again, can't really get out of the house, so that's kind of what I could do in the basement. I'm not a drummer, so I use either use a drum machine or on the we'll probably play some stuff from No Mass New Music. For that one, the drums are recorded remotely by a local musician here named John Perrin, who basically recorded the drums and then shipped me the drum tracks, and I just worked from there. So,
tell me a little bit about the time that you spent playing blues. Now, I don't know if you've played clubs in the Chicago area, but up and down Lincoln, as I remembered, back in the 70s and 80s, there were a lot of clubs, and many of them had blues bands play during that time. I really do miss that time, because that was when you could just about go anywhere and listen to live music. So for a while you were playing blues.
Yeah, so not so much on Lincoln, but not too far from there is Blues on Halstead, and then just a little further north of there is Kingston Mines, and those clubs are still active. And I played at some of those places a few times. The main place I played over the last 25 years or so has been the Smoke Daddy on Division in Wicker Park. And then Shaw's Crab House downtown was having blues bands a lot, so I played there many times. And then just a lot of just bars in and around the suburbs, and just the kind of places where you just sort of set up on the floor and play.
Right.
So I haven't played that many of the kind of the major North Side blues clubs. Just a handful of times. It was mainly just, like I said, private parties or bars or restaurants, just kind of wherever we can get a gig. And, yeah.
Well, I had heard that the city possibly is going to open up festivals again this summer. Obviously, there are going to be changes in how they do that. Is that something that you have thought about, or is it too early for you to think about something like that?
Well, these days, if I do anything related to the Blues Fest, it's really just because somebody needs a bass player. The way it works, the good news for someone like me is that there's so much activity that weekend. There's so many bands playing. At the festival itself, there's 3 or 4 bands all playing at the same time, or more. And then there's clubs and so forth. So what that means is that sometimes there's a decent chance I'll get a phone call because somebody needs a bass player, because all the musicians are working. So it's actually been a while. Last time I played the festival was 2017. But so I don't have my own blues band. I just basically it's more of kind of a gun for hire kind of situation. So I probably, once the pandemic is over, if I want to do more blues playing, I'll have to kind of get back out and reintroduce myself to people, because it's been a while, and play some more gigs and kind of you have to stay active in the circuit. You know what I mean? So there have been periods where I wasn't doing much at all. When my kids were little, for example, there was a period where I didn't play very much, and then I kind of got back out and did more of it. So it's more networking, just calling out people, and just hustling to try to get gigs and that type of thing.
Well, I guess during this time, there is a lot of time, to prepare your band and yourself to get back out there whenever that is. And getting back to the festivals, how do you feel about that? The city trying to bring back the festivals in the summertime?
Well, I think it's great. I mean, the festivals are wonderful, and it's just actually it's a shame to see them kind of slowly get downsized over the years. I mean, the Blues Festival used to be like, I hope this is right, I think it was at one point it was like 5 days. Or it seemed like it was a lot longer, and then they pared it down over a period of years, I guess for budgetary concerns or what have you. I think the festivals are great. They're a great chance for musicians to get work and to get exposure to their music, and people come from literally all over the world. If you go to the festival, repeatedly, you'll start saying, "Oh, so this person last year from California or from Argentina or from Canada or wherever." So I think it sheds a great light on the city. Does a wonderful job of kind of reaffirming our heritage, particularly with regards to the blues. I think the festivals are great.
Yeah, as do I. I just wonder, though, if a lot of people may think that it's too early to open up to festivals, given the pandemic situation. But I do miss having the festivals in summer. It's one of the things that many people look forward to, is going to the festivals. But the good thing about that is that it's outdoors.
Yeah.
And I know that should they decide for sure that they're going to do this, it's going to be cut down quite a bit. For you and the band, you said you're in 2 bands right now, and one of which is really new, and you really haven't done much at all.
We haven't. Well, we've been doing a lot, but nobody knows about us yet because we haven't done any gigs or released anything yet. But
now there are
under the radar.
I think that. What about Fitzgerald's? I think is having bands play there now, and several other clubs that I've heard of are having bands play. I don't exactly know whether they have an audience to come in, or again, if they're live streaming.
Well, I'm actually a big fan of Fitzgerald's. It's very close to where I live. And I just got their email the other day. I was astonished with how many bands they had. So I think that place is definitely, gambling on opening, up big time, which I'm sure has a lot to do with the fact that they're under new ownership. And I would imagine the new owners are really under some pressure to monetize their investment. Yeah, I think they're doing some sort of outdoor seating kind of, limited seating kind of arrangement type thing. I noticed that a lot of the events were free, so I think they were just trying to get some people to come into the club and drink, to make some money back. But yeah, no, I mean, I certainly hope everybody gets vaccinated and soon, and we're all kind of back to normal, so live music can continue not only at Fitzgerald's but every other venue in the area.
Sure.
I certainly miss it.
Yep, as we all do. Let's go ahead. Alex, our sound guy here, is helping us out. Let's go with Safe Distance, and if you can cue that up. Again,
Way back when you really broke my heart, you had that technique down to an art. So now for the sake of my mental health, I plan to remain completely in stealth. Here in these pandemic times, there's another reason to draw the line. If you get too close to me, I'm gonna call the governor, can't you see? So now there's reasons 1 and 2 for me to stay away from you, and it's as simple as it can be. Just keep a safe distance from me. Don't know why you're coming round again, since you ran off with my best friend. You really put me in my place, and now I want you out of my personal space. My therapist said don't analyze her, just use a stronger sanitizer. Gloves and bleach are not enough, you're really gonna need some toxic stuff. So now there's reasons 1 and 2 for me to stay away from you, and it's as simple as it can be. Just keep a safe distance from me. If you cross my border, I'll get a restraining order. I could list many reasons more, but I don't wanna be a bore. 6 feet away is the minimum, cause you belong in the sanitarium. So now there's reasons 1 and 2 for me to stay away from you, and it's as simple as it can be. Just keep a safe distance from me. Keep a safe distance from me. Keep a safe distance from me.
all right, another fun song there having to do with the pandemic. Now, this to me had a feeling a little bit of like 50s, 60s as well. And there's that still that punk feeling into it. Now, this wasn't something that your wife woke up in the middle of the night
No,
had an
this was-
idea for.
So this was inspired by, so there's a local musician in Cincinnati when I was a kid who's named Danny Morgan, and he had a song about, it obviously had nothing to do with the pandemic. This was in the 1970s. He wrote this song, but it was something about, keep a safe distance from an ex-lover, right? And so that was in the back of my mind, when the pandemic started. And I tried to find this song. I searched all over the internet. I could not find a trace of it. And so I thought, I'll just write my own one. Because, the idea was, ex-lover, breakup song, keep a safe distance from me, and then kind of playing off of keeping a safe distance during the pandemic. It's kind of it's a punk song. It's got the punk anger kind of to the vocals.
Right.
but I was really proud of the words, so I did this acoustic arrangement of it so people could hear the lyrics, and also maybe get a little bit of a wider appeal.
Sure.
So it's kind of a hybrid, folk punk, whatever you want to call it. But
Exactly.
that was the idea.
Yeah. So this is something that you could also play on your own,
I could,
You
yeah.
but you don't want to.
I do better when I've got all the bells and whistles of the computer
Sure,
to fix
sure.
things a little bit, make some tweaks and changes. Again, this is just guitar, bass, and vocals, so yeah, this is something I could do. But I'm not an excellent singer by any means. Usually I have to do several takes to get a decent take of things.
Well, I mean, I think you've got a terrific voice, and the way that you characterized the lyrics, and particularly this song, really fits.
Oh, thank you.
Really fits well. Well, have you thought about performing solo just to get out there, as a start before you get your whole group together out when the pandemic is over?
Yeah, this was really kind of a one-off. I'm sort of better suited in a band, can play off of things. In this band I'm in now that I mentioned, the Creepers, I do sing some songs. I've written about 3 or 4 songs for that band, and so I'll be singing there. But I certainly don't have the wherewithal to be able to pull off like a whole set of singing. I'll just be doing a couple songs throughout the set.
You have released an album, Career Ending Move.
Yes.
How about telling us a little bit about that? You released that in 2019.
Yep.
Okay.
Yeah. So with the other band I'm in, LC50, I had started writing songs, and LC50 has a female lead vocalist, Sabrina, who I mentioned earlier. And so I would write some songs, and some of these songs Sabrina would go, "This is great, yeah, let's do it." Another song she's like, "Karl, I'm not going to sing that." It just didn't make sense. Some of the things I was writing just weren't for that setting. So I'm very fortunate to have a friend. His name is Tim Riesig, who was Oprah Winfrey's sound man for 15 some years, 2-time Emmy winner. Lives very close to where I live, and he has a full recording studio in his basement. So I started just going over to his place and recording demos of the songs I was writing, sometimes to pitch to the band, and sometimes just to record them. And so the project kind of grew out of that. After I had a few of these songs done, I thought, well, this is. I started to become pretty proud of these songs. I thought, I started to explore that theme of punk for adults a bit, and I found I had 2 songs, then 4 songs, and then I thought, okay, I'm going to get to 10 songs. I'm just going to release it and call it an album. So it's a short album. It's only 22 minutes long. Some of the songs are like a minute and a half long. It's very, old school punk, very in, out.
And right to the point.
Say what you're going to say. I didn't send any of those. There's a lot of expletives, so not appropriate for radio. But
Right.
but feel free to look it up on Bandcamp. Karl with a K, Meyer. The name of the album is Career Ending Move. And Sabrina, back to her, ended up guesting vocal as I worked further along with the project. I was sending rough mixes out to friends, and someone said, "But you really need some backing vocals. You need some other voices on here." And I thought, okay. So I brought Sabrina in. She sings with me on 4 of the songs, and then another woman who's got a bluesier voice, Sandra Lee is her name. She sang on a song as well. So I'm doing most of the singing, but I've got some these 2 folks to help me out. And it's I'm very happy with it.
Good.
It came out pretty well.
Good. And then the songs that we're listening to today is off of No Mask, No Music.
Yeah, I think the next 2 are, if we're going to do the other 2.
Right.
I Don't Want to Be Quarantined with You, and
Already Home.
Already Home.
Mhm.
Yeah, those are both on the Master Music.
And in fact, Alex, why don't we go ahead and bring up I Don't Want to Be Quarantined with You.
Some old guy on the TV said to bleach my body clean. So I tried drinking Lysol and it made my thoughts obscene. Now that I'm thinking clearer, I'm gonna make the scene. So here's another song for you from my twisted dreams. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. You think you are funny, but you're really just a bore. Every single day with you is just another chore. So I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. One more online meeting and I'll probably go insane. You ate off all the cookies, there's no more beer for my brain. Every single day is just the same damn day again and again. I could write a longer song, but I just broke my pen. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. You think you are funny, but you're really just a bore. Every single day with you is just another chore. So I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. I found another pen, so here's another verse. The dark web tells me don't prepare for the worst. So all I did was scratch your name onto a hearse. I know you'd do the same for me if you had got there first. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. You think you are funny, but you're really just a bore. Every single day with you is just another chore. So I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore. I don't wanna be quarantined with you anymore.
All right, yeah, another one having to do with the pandemic.
Yeah.
Before we talk more about that, I'm going to take a little bit of a station break here. We are at WGHC 98.3 FM. Actually, we are at New Rhythm Arts Center right now. We're recording the show for Saturday morning, but you are listening on WGHC 98.3 FM. And if you'd like to get in touch with anyone at the station, you can email program director at wghcradio.org. Again, that's program director at wghcradio.org. Also, as a lot of stations are, we are a nonprofit radio station. And of course, we need funds to keep machinery going, to pay the bills, all sorts of fun stuff like that. So if you are willing and able, we would so appreciate a few dollars of a donation. You can donate actually as little as you like or as much as you like. And to do that, you can go to www.wghcradio.org and click the donate button. We really appreciate your listening to us here at WGHC 98.3 FM, and hope you can support us by donating a couple of bucks or as much as you like. This is Alicia Hempfling, and I'm here with Karl Meyer, musician, songwriter. Actually, you do some producing of your own music pretty much, too, as well.
Yeah, well, when I listened to this last one, I still hear all the work I had to do. And this is a great example of how far I'd progressed by this point last year. The drums were recorded remotely. So first I had to make a demo with the drum machine, and then I sent it to John Perrin, local excellent musician here in Chicago. And he took the demos and he sent me back drum tracks. Then I had to start all over again, right, from the new drum tracks. So I laid down the basses and the guitar. And then I decided to recruit my old friend Chris Donnelly from Slogo, who lives in Cincinnati. So I shipped him the tracks, had him lay on the lead guitar against a reference vocal. So then I had guitar, bass, drums, lead guitar, and then I went into a studio to do the vocals professionally. And then I decided I wanted some backing vocals, and so those were done remotely by my friend Tim Vogel, who is in the Creepers with me. So all this remote activity, 3 or 4 different studios, emailing stuff back and forth, the miracle of technology to make it sound like a band.
Yes.
But actually it was recorded piece by piece by piece over a period of quite some time to get there. So yeah, a couple of years ago I wouldn't have been able to do that. I wouldn't have known how to pull all those pieces together and make that happen, but it's been a focus of mine to get to this point now.
Well, that's a good thing about where we are with technology right now is we are able to do things remotely. And back in the day, 60s, 70s, even part of the 80s, we couldn't even dream of doing something like this from, the comfort of your home and reaching out to other people in other states. So let's switch gears just a little bit here. How about family? Does your kids, are they involved with your music at all?
Well, they're not involved with my music. They've got their own interests.
They have their own
So my
interests,
daughter is
sure.
a junior in high school and she plays the flute. Obviously, marching band isn't happening with the pandemic these days, but she was doing that, and she also takes lessons and gives concerts, recitals, for the school and so forth. And my son is not a musician, but he has his own musical interests connected with gaming.
Sure.
And some of the artists that he likes through that. So.
Okay, and you are living in River Forest?
Yeah.
Is that right? That's right. Yeah, so all these times when you had played in the Chicago area, you were living in the Chicago area at that time?
Yeah, I moved here in '91. So
In '91, okay.
I've been here for quite a while.
All right, yeah.
I still kind of think of Cincinnati as my hometown, but actually I've lived in Chicago longer than any place.
Right,
So.
right. Going back to when you first started professionally, you were in high school. So did you do a lot of traveling during that time?
No, I didn't. One of the bands I was in did a short tour in California.
Okay.
But aside from that, I mainly, I was in high school.
Right. Right.
And then when I went to college, I was pretty serious about school, and I wasn't doing much musically. I played a couple of local, like talent show kind of things. But I really stayed focused on schoolwork and that type of thing on my career and so forth until I got interested in the blues scene here and decided to kind of have a second career or side gig or whatever you want to call it, playing the blues. So I haven't really done a lot of touring or traveling. I spent one wild weekend in Norway with a band called Big Guitars from Memphis about 20 years ago, but that was a one-off kind of thing. For the most part, I've just stayed locally.
Okay. The reason that I ask is because we do have some younger listeners to our radio show, and some of them are starting out. Some of them have ideas of themselves becoming musicians. I've in fact interviewed a few, I want to say kids, anybody that's below 30 years old, I call a kid, but anyway. And they actually, these two were actually in high school, and they don't know how to proceed. So what words of wisdom would you have for
Well, I mean, I
for
can't
our
say
youngsters?
I can't say that I've ever had tremendous successes in the classical sense of having success. I mean, with my music, it's been more fun, and a lot of times I feel like I'm just entertaining my friends or a few people I meet online or so forth. So I don't know that I'm the best person to give advice as to how to get ahead in the music world, or maybe it's just don't quit your day job.
Well, although success isn't always obtaining success.
Of course, and I think really probably my message to anybody is have fun, enjoy yourself, take it seriously but not too seriously, because there are very, very few people who really can make a decent living out of only playing music. I think probably the best bet would be, unless you have just exceptional talent, is to, go ahead, pursue your music, but then pursue other things, as well. Life doesn't have to be, I'm only going to do this. Again, unless you're just exceptionally talented. And then I do know some people who are exceptionally talented, and they struggle,
Yes.
And even prior to the pandemic, and then especially now with the pandemic, it's certainly been a rough year for people who only rely on music for their income. But those people are doing things like, they're producing, they're live streaming, like I mentioned. I just mentioned John Perrin, who is recording drum tracks. I follow him online, and he's done dozens and dozens of recordings over the last year remotely for bands. Same type of thing that he did for me. So the creative, hard-working people are figuring out how to make ends meet.
So is this what you're doing full time?
No. I work in software development.
Okay.
I'm a product manager. I work for a company called Engine Media. What are we now? We're Engine Media. We're Engine Group. Also EMX. The name keeps changing. But I'm a product person. I have a team of people who work for me that we work with software engineers who are building out a platform for online advertising.
Which is in itself a way to be creative. I have a son that's also working in software, and my idea is you just sit in front of a computer and press the buttons, but he's creating a lot of different types of products for the company that he works for. So I salute you. It's a tough but yet creative way of having your days working during the day.
Yeah, I enjoy it. I mean, really, the only drawback with the current situation working from home is there's just so much time on the computer, staring at the screen and
Yes.
Zoom and all of that.
Yes.
I think so. It's just you have to constantly remind yourself, hey, get out and ride your bicycle or go for a walk or do something and break up the screen time.
Exactly. We've got one more left, don't we, Alex? So why don't we play that one?
Cup of coffee, you're already home.
love the lyrics to that. Actually, all of them are pretty cool. I'm going to
Thank you.
take another break here. We hope you all out there listening to us are enjoying our broadcast. We'd love to bring you more music, poetry, and stories, more fascinating info and interviews. But like most nonprofit radio stations, it does take funding to keep us going, so please consider a donation or even a sponsorship to any of the programs here on WGHC Radio. And you can do that by going to our website, www.wghcradio.org. And if you would like to get in touch with anyone here at WGHC, you can email us at programdirector@wghcradio.org. Again, programdirector@wghcradio.org. So we still have a few minutes here. Why don't we talk about this last song?
Yeah, so very much just kind of a slice of life of where my head was at during the first few weeks of the pandemic. So I normally work downtown, very used to taking the train in every day, and the hustle and bustle of the city. So it was quite an adjustment all of a sudden to work in the basement. We're in a fairly small house, 2 teenage kids who were all of a sudden now adjusting to finishing high school at home, and so all 4 of us kind of crammed into this house all day long every day. It was a real adjustment. And the one there's good and bad about everything, right? So the one good thing, of course, is that I didn't have to commute home, so at the end of the day I was already home. So that's really where the idea of the lyrics came from. It was like, well, I don't have to worry about commuting home because all I have to do is walk upstairs to see my family. So that was the idea. And then just to kind of just little things like my kids really were sleeping till noon. As I mentioned in the song, they were supposed to be online going to school, but there was so much sort of chaos at the way the school was being handled at first. They got better at it, but at first it was kind of, there wasn't a lot of accountability, so there was a lot of sleeping in, which can't blame high school students for that as well. So it was just kind of just sort of tongue-in-cheek, and I decided to put kind of a hokey cowboy kind of sound to it, cowpunk,
It's like,
if you will.
like Western swing with punk infused into it.
Yeah. So that's for guitar players out there. I'm actually using a baritone guitar on that one. It's tuned a fifth lower than a regular guitar, and it's got that really deep kind of sound. I like to use the baritone sparingly, but here and there it pops up in my music. It just gives a different flavor, and it was just kind of perfect for this. So that's how that song came about.
Well, wonderful. We've actually run out of time. I'm so glad that you came here. Actually, I could talk a little bit more about your music, but alas, we have to cut ourselves off. But I really enjoyed speaking with you today, and glad that you came by so that we could have a nice conversation.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I really appreciate it.
This is Alicia Hempfling here at WGHC. Actually, we are at New Rhythm Arts Center, but we are broadcasting for WGHC 98.3 FM. We hope you have a wonderful day, and we will see you next time.
Out.